What's good, man? Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, the saga continues. And this topic right here about this is a little interesting because we were led to believe that Terrence Bud Crawford was holding up the fight the whole time. And to a certain extent, that's true because he didn't like what he was seeing in his contract, so he didn't really want to agree. But now, a couple days ago, they say that he walked up on Blue Blood personally and say that he signed everything for the fight for the 35%, and he just agreed to everything, and he's just waiting on their side to confirm the fight, you know. And I think that this makes Errol Spence and the channels that pushes Errol Spence look bad because this whole time they were like telling us that we just waiting on Bud to sign. Earl already signed because he's with the PBC and PBC is offering the contract. And I was kind of believing that because that kind of made sense. Like, I thought that Earl signed and then they were just trying to get Crawford to sign because PBC, you know, they have Earl already. So they probably talked to Earl already and now they trying to get Crawford on board. And I kind of felt like that was what's happening. I thought Spence already agreed, but that's just not the case. Bernie the boxer, he's from Terrence Crawford's camp. I don't really like think everything he says is true, but he also said the same thing that Crawford signed and they waiting on Spence. So yeah, it's looking bad though. It's looking bad. Because I thought that this was all we was waiting for. Now Bud's on deck, and I gotta give respect to Bud for signing that contract. Bud, he just turned 35 years old a couple days ago, and I just felt like Bud, he's an older fighter. He don't have time to really take short deals. Like he's like in a point in his career where he should be trying to get as most as he can to provide for his family. And this man, he took this fight for legacy. He's taking it for legacy. Because if Bud was all about the money, we wouldn't even have got this far. He wouldn't have took the 35%, and he stood on that 50-50 or nothing for like over a year, 2 years. But Bud, he finally signed. We supposed to have a fight right now, but we just don't because PBC, they don't want Errol Spence to take the fight. They say Spence in his heart wants the fight, but Al Heyman and the matchmakers at PBC, they see Terrence Crawford as a huge threat, which he is, and they don't want to take that risk of putting Earl, who is one of their biggest draws in the company, in there to possibly get knocked out, you know? And I feel like that's not great thinking from PBC because uh you can get Crawford. You can have Crawford. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because all the belts that Crawford could win in his career is at the PBC. Like, I don't see what's they worrying about Crawford running off so much for, like, and going back to top rank. Like, there ain't really no fights at top rank for Terrence Crawford. If he beats Spence, he trying to go straight to Charlo to 154. That's all PBC right there. Like, so they should be willing to make this fight. And I just want everybody to hold off on calling Spence a duck until another fight is announced. But I do feel like his side is holding up the fight. Even Tim Smith, the months ago. I think that was even before the Spence Ugas fight. They say that they didn't know what to offer Crawford. You know what I'm saying? Just holding it up like that. And like another thing I want to say about these Earl Spence fan channels, like Earl's not the draw that you guys are trying to say that he is, because if that was the case, PBC would have made this fight. like Caleb Plant, he's not a huge name at all. He wasn't a pay-per-view fighter or nothing like that before Canelo. I think he was just a main event fighter on PBC. And PBC was willing and ready. They outbidded everybody for the Canelo fight. It's like if your name is that big, like the networks will throw the money at your fights if you're fighting anybody. You know what I'm saying? And Terrence Crawford, he's a top 10 name in boxing himself, in my opinion. Like, I don't think there's 10 bigger draws than Bud. I think Errol Spence is slightly a bigger draw. But this is what I said in the beginning about these two. Not in the beginning, but a while ago. I'm like, PBC, they say that they don't want to offer, they don't know what to offer Bud. But I think it's the same thing for Errol Spence. Like they don't want to give Spence 20 plus million either. You know what I'm saying? I heard that they offering these guys no money up front, everything on the back end. Like these guys could possibly, if this fight was to like bum, these guys could be fighting the toughest fight in their lives and walking away with the lowest purse of their lives. You know what I mean? Well, not the lowest of their lives, but you know, a not extraordinary purse for a fight like that. You know what I mean? And they say Crawford agreed to that too. Crawford, he usually has a gang of upfront money from top rank, like 4, 5, 6 million type shit, and probably not much on the back end, but PBC offered this guy no money up front, all on the back end, and in 35%, and he signed it. And so Crawford really trying to do this shit for legacy. Crawford knows that we really want to see this fight. And I gotta hold Errol Spence accountable. I don't care if it's his team that don't want to see the fight. They work for you. You gotta override your team. If you really want to fight Terrence Crawford, you go in there and say, make this fight or I'm retiring. I need this fight. You got to be desperate for this fight. Like, obviously, like how Crawford is showing, signing that deal. But I think this is likely to be the next fight. I don't think Spence finna fight nobody else. It's just the November 19th date that they reported is bullshit. I'm gonna stand on that video I made a couple weeks ago. This fight might happen early next year, like February, March, the first quarter of next year. That's what I'm standing on.